Got Mathew Ingram on the line from the Globe and Mail, globetechnology.com. Want to talk about penguins today. Sony is in talks with Club Penguin to purchase the online kids site for close to $450 million. Thanks for joining us, Mathew.
Thanks for having me, Mike.
Who knew penguins were worth so much?
Who knew, yeah. Well, you know, kids like penguins, and kids certainly love Club Penguin. I know if you have kids, which I think you do, they've probably been on the site. My 9-year-old spends hours on there, and another kids site called Webkinz, and it's an incredible sort of virtual universe for these kids. They get to walk around as their avatar, their penguin. They get to play games. They get to. At one point, my daughter had a headset on, and she was talking with her cousins in another city, and they were all playing on Club Penguin. She's 9 years old.
Well, I find it hilarious, how involved the kids are in this online world. And what I find fascinating as well is how it became so big. I mean, they have millions of kids going into these things now. And for example, Club Penguin, it's not like they were doing any advertising. It was more of a viral kind of thing.
It definitely was, and it certainly came out of nowhere for me. I mean, I pay attention to a lot of stuff online, particularly virtual worlds like that, like Second Life, and I had never heard of it. And I certainly didn't know that it was Canadian when my daughter first mentioned it, but I took a look at it, and she was so, obsessed with it. All her friends were on it. I started to look into the company a bit, and I know we wrote about it here at the Globe. 3 guys, I think it was, working for a web design video company, decided to do this as a sort of side project, and something for their own kids because they're family types, and something safe and online where the kids could have fun, and it just really took off, and it's been incredible to watch the growth of that company. A company that's been around, I think, maybe a little over a year. You're talking about $450 million acquisition. That's pretty incredible.
Don't know what I'm doing wrong. I guess I'm just not thinking of penguins. But
Exactly.
These types of worlds are really popular with the kids. Typically I would think, they'd be into like video games that they'd purchase in a store, but these online worlds are simply huge, and they're making lots of money. Club Penguin, for example, I know charges $6 a pop. An interesting one that you mentioned is Webkinz, which essentially are these little stuffed animals that you buy in stores, and you get a web code with them.
Yeah, and that was another one that just sort of came out of nowhere. I had never heard of the thing. And I didn't know that Webkinz was an offshoot of a Toronto company called GANs that makes, popular stuffed toys. All of a sudden, my daughter said, I have to get one, I have to get one. All my friends have 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, and here's the thing, and you get a code, and then you go on this website. And I know I've talked to dozens of other parents, even here at the Globe, who experienced exactly the same thing. Their child saying, I got to have one. It became the new Beanie Baby, except it's a Beanie Baby that has a sort of online life as well. And once you get the code, you go online and you can, decorate your Webkinz house and so on. It's very similar in a lot of ways if you've seen a website called Habbo Hotel, which is also popular with sort of young tweens and teens. It's, the graphics aren't fantastic. The rooms are basically just squares, and you can, put virtual furniture in there, and you can buy things with your virtual money, your Kinz cash, I guess. But it's incredible how many kids sort of really get pulled into these games. And the nice thing about Club Penguin is I wrote a blog post about those type of virtual universes and how they make money. And one of the first things people started to talk about was advertising. Club Penguin, as far as I know, has a no advertising policy. So there is no advertising anywhere on the site, which is nice that they're not sort of using this kids' obsession with or fascination with this online world to kind of pitch them ads.
Well, I kind of like that aspect, and it's really amazing to me. Club Penguin, from what I understand, their revenues are around $60 million a year now.
Yeah.
And well, I guess they've only been in business for about a year, but half of that is profit. And what I find fascinating is like the big companies, like the Disneys and the Nickelodeons. They've been trying to get into these online worlds for years, and obviously investing tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars into creating them. And it's these little upstarts that seem to be capturing a lot of the imagination of the kids.
That is the amazing thing. In fact, there's a rumor that Disney has been looking at Webkinz, for example, because it definitely wants to have an online property like this, but it hasn't been able to sort of create one of its own based around its Disney characters. And so the assumption is if you can't build it or get people to come after you build it, then you pretty much have to buy something. There's another one that launched called Zwinktopia. Zwinky is a kind of toolbar slash, chat, icon, avatar thing. It's hard to describe. But they're trying to also create a sort of online universe. And I think it's interesting that, to my daughter at least, I don't know about yours, this sort of wandering around in a virtual world as a penguin, an avatar of a penguin, it just seems totally natural. And they have no problem, getting over the idea that you're effectively playing in a world that exists only on a screen.
Well, what I find interesting as well is that it's just not them kind of alone with the game. The big thing for my kids is that they hook up with their friends, their other penguin, like their real friends that are penguins online as well.
Yeah, that's definitely, and even Webkinz, whenever my daughter has friends over or her cousins who are a similar age, they like to go and look at her Webkinz, site or home, or she's built different rooms for it and so on. So they like to look at it. They like to. It's a lot like playing with Barbies, I guess, at least for my daughter. Instead of having all this gear that you bought at Toys R Us, that's filling up your basement, you have an online world with sort of virtual furniture, but the concept is the same.
Well, I hope that Webkinz thing dies soon, because I've got 3 kids, and I swear to God, I probably have 30 of these little stuffed animals in my house.
Yeah, they definitely reproduce.
Mathew, I want to thank you so much for joining us.
Okay, thanks, Mike.
That was Mathew Ingram from the Globe and Mail. You can read more of his articles and blogs at globetechnology.com.